Alright, let's dive into something that's been bubbling up in the news lately: Iran's new demands regarding the Strait of Hormuz. But before we get into the nitty-gritty, let me ask you this: what happens when a critical choke point in global trade becomes a bargaining chip in geopolitical negotiations? That's exactly what's unfolding here, and it's way more complex than it seems at first glance. So, here's the deal: Iran's Supreme National Security Council, led by Mohammad Bagher Zolgadar, has laid out 6 conditions the US must meet before the Strait of Hormuz can fully reopen. Now, this isn't just about a waterway, it's about pride, power, and a long history of tensions. What makes this really interesting is that these demands go far beyond the June 17 Memorandum of Understanding between the US and Iran. It's like Iran is saying, if you want Hormuz open, you're going to have to do a lot more than just shake hands. One thing that immediately stands out is the scope of these conditions. Zolgadar isn't just asking for a few concessions, he's demanding a complete overhaul of US behavior toward Iran and its allies. We're talking about ending threats, lifting sanctions, withdrawing military forces, and even compensating Iran for past damages. Personally, I think this is Iran flexing its negotiating muscles, showing that it's not going to settle for anything less than a full reset of the relationship. But here's the kicker: these demands aren't just about Iran. They explicitly include countries like Palestine, Yemen, and Iraq, which means Iran is positioning itself as a protector of its allies in the region. This raises a deeper question: is Iran trying to establish itself as the dominant power in the Middle East, or is this just a high-stakes bargaining tactic? What many people don't realize is that the Strait of Hormuz isn't just a regional issue, it's a global one. About 20% of the world's oil passes through this waterway every day. If it remains closed, or even partially blocked, the economic ripple effects could be massive. From my perspective, this is Iran leveraging its strategic geography to gain political and economic concessions. It's a classic example of how geography can shape geopolitics. Now, let's talk about the US response. According to an unnamed official, Washington's position is that the blockade of Iranian ports will be lifted once commercial shipping through Hormuz is restored without impediments. In other words, the US wants Iran to act first. This is where things get tricky. Both sides are essentially saying, you go first, and neither seems willing to blink. If you take a step back and think about it, this is a classic standoff, but with global implications. Meanwhile, Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian is pushing for an agreement, saying now is the best time for one. He's framing Iran as victorious and powerful, which is an interesting choice of words. What this really suggests is that Iran feels it has the upper hand right now, whether that's true or not. Pezeshkian also pointed out that Tehran and Washington should have had a mechanism to deal with violations of the June memorandum instead of letting things escalate. Personally, I think he's right. A lack of clear dispute resolution mechanisms is often the Achilles heel of these agreements. A detail I find fascinating is how Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC, has weighed in, saying the reopening of Hormuz is contingent on the US accepting these conditions. This isn't just a diplomatic issue anymore, it's a military one too. The IRGC's involvement underscores just how high the stakes are. So, where does this leave us? Well, negotiations are ongoing in Oman, and both sides are digging in their heels. From my perspective, this is less about the Strait of Hormuz and more about the broader US-Iran relationship. Iran wants recognition, respect, and an end to what it sees as decades of aggression. The US, on the other hand, wants to maintain its influence in the region without giving too much ground. If you ask me, the real question here is whether either side is willing to compromise. Because right now, it feels like we're watching a game of chicken, and the world is waiting to see who swerves first. What do you think? Is Iran overplaying its hand, or is this a calculated move to reshape its relationship with the US? Let me know in the comments below. And before you go, think about this: in a world where global trade depends on such fragile geopolitical balances, how many more of these standoffs can we afford? It's a question worth pondering. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more insights into the stories shaping our world.